What is Sabbath? Is it just resting, doing nothing, or going to church? No, it is not, because this is the way the Pharisees think when they accuse Jesus of breaking the Sabbath. And I know by now, we know that they were wrong. In the Bible, there are many verses that tells us about the Sabbath. I will use Exodus 20, verses 8 to 11, where it says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work." Now work is introduced in the Bible when God commanded it to Adam after Adam and Eve fell into sin. It is defined in Genesis 3 verses 17 to 19 as hardship and burden in exchange for their sustenance. Now going back to Exodus 20 and incorporating it with this knowledge, it says, 6 days you shall experience hardships and burden, but on the seventh day you shall not experience it. Now the next verse that I will be using happened during the creation of the tabernacle in Exodus 31:13, where it says, "Surely my Sabbath you shall keep, for it is the sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the Lord who sanctifies you." This verse says that the Sabbath is a sign, a proof that the Lord sets you apart from the rest of the world. The last verse that I will be using is found in Isaiah 58, chapters 13 to 14, that implies the Sabbath is a day you should honor the Lord and nothing else. All your actions should be to honor and give pleasure to Him, not for your own delight and benefit, and by doing so, the Lord will give you reward. What can we make out of these facts about the Sabbath in the Bible? Is the Sabbath about going to church because it is a day of worship, or being lazy and doing nothing because it is rest? Of course not. The Sabbath is part of the 10 Commandments, the Fourth Commandment in fact, which means this commandment is for God, but it also has implications that it is for man too. It is said that the 10 Commandments is a character of Christ, and if Christ is God and God is love, then love is embedded within these commandments. As a matter of fact, the essence of the 10 Commandments are love for God and love for fellow men. You see, you have 6 days to do work for your benefit, but reserve one, the Sabbath day, for God. Sabbath is about being with God, glorifying Him, giving praises to Him, and doing things for His glory and not your own. It also means that you are allowed to do something for others during the Sabbath that will lead to glorifying God. In fact, if love is the reason for you to help someone in need, preach about God, or sing praises to Him, it should not be a burden to you, which nullifies the implication of work. The same goes for the rest of the 10 Commandments. You cannot follow the 10 Commandments without love, because it will become a burden to you. If love is your reason, you will not even notice that you are following the 10 Commandments. The purpose of the 10 Commandments is to give you a character worthy of heaven, a place where there is no suffering and sorrow. If you think about it, the Bible verse that says the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath actually makes sense, because during Sabbath, God's influence makes man share genuine love for fellow men. Many people think that the Sabbath is only for the Jews and deserve only to be in the 10 Commandments, because Jesus Christ has already freed us from this. Is this true though? No, not true at all. You see, in the Old Testament, there were many Sabbaths. Most of them are festive Sabbaths, but only one seventh-day Sabbath. The similarities between these Sabbaths are their purpose, which is to glorify and be with God, and they all serve as the sign between God and His people, and so they are expected to be observed by God's people. However, they are also different because the seventh-day Sabbath existed before the fall of humanity to sin. Hence, it is expected to be observed with or without sin, while the festive Sabbaths were made for sinners and were expected to be observed because of sin by sacrificing best livestock to die instead of the sinner, and also relying on the high priest to mediate the sinner with God for the forgiveness of sin. God's commandments were never abolished, but instead, Jesus Christ fulfilled the festive Sabbath by dying as a perfect sacrificial lamb to save humanity from their sins. And so, the Sabbath that requires sacrificial of the best livestock is no longer needed for the forgiveness of sin. Jesus Christ also fulfills the priestly ministry here on earth, for now He is our high priest and mediator to our Father, which is in heaven. Rejoice for the Sabbath, for it is not a burden, but a proof that even in this world full of sin, God's influence still exists.